Welcome back to Who Died Today USA channel. In the past few days, we have received somber news about the passing of extraordinary talents. Today's episode is dedicated to honoring their memory. Additionally, we will recap the stars we have recently lost. Before we begin, we kindly ask for your support. If this video or the legacies of these remarkable individuals have touched your life, please consider giving this video a thumbs up as a sign of respect and remembrance. Thank you. Today, we remember and honor the life of Sly Stone, a man whose music didn't just entertain, it awakened something in us. As the brilliant frontman of Sly and the Family Stone, he gave America a new sound, a new message, and a reason to move together. With each song, he didn't just create hits, he created harmony in a divided time. Born Sylvester Stewart in 1943 in Denton, Texas, Sly grew up with gospel in his heart and music in his soul. By the mid-1960s, he had formed one of the most groundbreaking bands of all time. Sly and the Family Stone wasn't just a band, it was a revolution. A fully integrated lineup of men and women, black and white, they stood on stage as living proof of unity. And their songs? They were fire, they were truth. From the joyful chaos of Dance to the Music to the anthem of equality everyday people, Sly gave us more than melodies, he gave us messages. With albums like Stand and There's a Riot Going On, he captured the sound of a generation yearning for something better. But behind the brilliance, there was pain. Sly struggled with fame, addiction, and illness. In his later years, he faded from the spotlight, even spending time living in a van. Yet, he never stopped creating. He kept writing, dreaming, and believing in the power of music. Even near the end, he completed a screenplay about his life, a final act of artistry still waiting to reach the world. He is survived by his 3 children, Sylvester Jr., Sylvette, and Novena Carmel. Through them, and through us, his voice will never be forgotten. Millions of fans will forever remember the joy he sparked, the unity he sang about, and the funk he unleashed. Sly Stone passed away on June 9, 2025, at the age of 82, following a long battle with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. He died peacefully, surrounded by his children and loved ones. Did Sly Stone's music leave a mark on your life? Did his voice ever carry you through a moment you'll never forget? If so, share your memory in the comments. And if his songs still play in your heart, press like, not just to honor a legend, but to keep his message of unity, love, and rhythm alive for the next generation. Wayne Lewis, the heartbeat of Atlantic Starr and a voice that defined a generation. Wayne Lewis was more than just a singer. He was the soul of Atlantic Starr, the voice behind some of the most beloved R&B ballads of the 1980s and beyond. With every note he sang, Wayne brought emotion, elegance, and sincerity to the stage, becoming a musical companion for countless fans through love, heartbreak, and celebration. As a founding member of Atlantic Starr, alongside his brothers David and Jonathan, Wayne helped shape the sound of modern R&B. Formed in 1976 in White Plains, New York, the band quickly found success with its unique blend of smooth grooves, heartfelt lyrics, and impeccable vocal harmonies. Wayne's voice carried the weight of longing and joy in songs like Secret Lovers, Circles, Silver Shadow, and the chart-topping Always, a timeless love song that soared to number 1. One on both the Billboard Hot 100 and Hot Black Singles charts. His talent was not just in his voice, but in his ability to connect, to make listeners feel seen, understood, and moved. Whether performing in stadiums or intimate venues, Wayne's charisma lit up every stage. He remained a central figure in Atlantic Starr's evolving lineup and sound, helping the group release their final studio album Metamorphosis in 2017. His dedication to music never wavered, even as the years passed. Beyond his music, fans remember Wayne as a kind soul, a gracious presence who gave his all to his craft. The outpouring of tributes across social media reflects the depth of love and admiration so many felt for him. "The voice of a generation," one fan wrote. Another simply said, "I had the pleasure of meeting him. What an amazing soul." Wayne Lewis passed away on June 5, 2025, at the age of 68. His bandmates announced the heartbreaking news shortly after, asking for privacy and prayers for the family. The cause of death was not disclosed. Though he may be gone, his music remains, a lasting soundtrack to our most cherished memories. If Wayne Lewis ever sang the soundtrack to your love story, let us know in the comments. And if his music still plays in your heart, press like to honor a legend whose voice will never fade. Breaking news. Today, we explore the extraordinary journey of one of America's most beloved icons, a woman whose voice, heart, and resilience have touched generations. Dolly Parton is more than a singer. She is a symbol of perseverance, generosity, and creative brilliance. How has she managed to stay relevant, strong, and deeply loved across decades of change and challenges? Join us as we uncover the fascinating story of Dolly's rise to fame, her battles behind the spotlight, and the strength that continues to define her legacy. Dolly Parton, born on January 19, 1946, in a one-room cabin in the Great Smoky Mountains of Tennessee, grew up in poverty as one of 12 children. Her early life was marked by hardship and limited resources, but her family was rich in music, faith, and love. By the age of 10, Dolly was performing on local radio and television. By 13, she had recorded her first single. These humble beginnings set the stage for a career that would reshape the landscape of country music forever. Dolly became a household name in the late 1960s when she joined Porter Wagoner's television show. Her solo career soon skyrocketed, with hits like Jolene, Coat of Many Colors, and I Will Always Love You, establishing her as a powerhouse in country and pop music. Her unique voice, paired with deeply personal songwriting, resonated with audiences worldwide. Songs drawn from her own life experiences made listeners feel seen, understood, and uplifted. Beyond the microphone, Dolly made waves in Hollywood. Her film debut in the 1980 comedy 9 to 5 showcased her sharp wit and undeniable charisma, earning her a Golden Globe nomination. She followed this with memorable performances in The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas and Steel Magnolias, proving her talents extended far beyond music. Despite her fame, Dolly's path was not without obstacles. In a male-dominated industry, she faced constant pressure to conform. Early in her career, industry executives dismissed her talent, focusing instead on her appearance. Yet Dolly stood her ground. She refused to change her image, defended her creative rights, and insisted on owning her music. When Elvis Presley requested to cover I Will Always Love You, she famously declined because it would have required giving up half of the song's publishing rights. That decision, though difficult, preserved her control and income, and it underscored her business acumen and self-respect. Dolly also navigated personal struggles with astonishing grace. During the 1980s, she battled physical exhaustion and emotional strain. The relentless pace of touring, filming, and managing her growing empire took a toll on her well-being. She experienced weight gain, digestive issues, and emotional burnout. In a deeply reflective moment, Dolly realized she needed to slow down and prioritize her health. She turned inward, drew strength from her faith, and recentered her life around balance and purpose. Health has continued to be a quiet undercurrent in Dolly's life. Now, in her late 70s, she is transparent about the challenges that come with aging. She has faced issues common to women of her generation, such as bone and joint discomfort, fluctuating blood pressure, and energy management. Yet her commitment to well-being is unwavering. She often credits her physical activity, positive mindset, and spiritual grounding as the pillars that keep her vibrant. She remains active, productive, and as dazzling as ever. In early 2025, Dolly endured the heartbreaking loss of her beloved husband, Carl Dean, her partner of nearly 60 years. The two had shared a deeply private, enduring relationship, away from the spotlight. His passing left an undeniable mark on her emotional health. Still, Dolly found solace in family, faith, and the outpouring of love from fans around the world. In interviews, she expressed gratitude for the life they built together and continues to honor his memory through her ongoing work. While some celebrities fade or become embroiled in controversy, Dolly has managed to maintain a reputation of integrity and compassion. She avoids political feuds and media scandals, choosing instead to focus on spreading joy. Whether performing in sequined gowns or giving away books through her imagination library, she leads with kindness and purpose. Dolly's philanthropic legacy is as impactful as her music. She has donated millions to causes ranging from wildfire relief to education and healthcare. In 2020, her $1 million donation to vaccine research made headlines, and in 2024, she contributed another major gift to the Salvation Army and children's hospitals. Her imagination library has gifted more than 270 million books to children worldwide, promoting literacy and nurturing young minds. In recent years, Dolly released her long-anticipated rock album, collaborated with major artists, and even appeared as a digital hologram. She has remained at the forefront of entertainment while continuing to evolve. Her image, big hair, bright eyes, and glittering outfits, is iconic. But it is her warmth, wisdom, and work ethic that truly define her. Even now, she wakes up early, writes music, dreams big, and speaks humbly about her journey. She once said, "If I can hold God's attention, I can hold the world's," and hold it she has. Her story is not one of overnight success, but of persistence, grit, and boundless generosity. As we look back on Dolly Parton's life, what stands out is not just her stardom, but her spirit. She is a woman who rose from a log cabin to global stardom without losing her roots. She carried her mountain melodies into every corner of the world, all while lifting others as she climbed. Her journey is a blueprint for resilience, kindness, and purpose-driven living. What are your favorite Dolly Parton memories? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let us know how her music, films, or life story has inspired you. If her journey has touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe for more tributes to icons who continue to shape our world through creativity and courage. Thank you for joining us in celebrating the enduring light that is Dolly Parton. Gene Hackman, one of Hollywood's most revered and enduring actors, left an indelible mark on the world of film. Born in 1930, Hackman rose from humble beginnings to become a towering figure in cinema, celebrated for his depth, versatility, and unmistakable screen presence. With iconic performances in The French Connection, Unforgiven, Superman, and The Royal Tenenbaums, he captivated generations and won 2 Academy Awards along the way. Behind the acclaim was a man who faced profound challenges. In his later years, Hackman withdrew from public life, choosing quiet over the spotlight. He spent his final years in Santa Fe, New Mexico, alongside his beloved wife, Betsy Arakawa. It was there, surrounded by the stillness of nature, that the couple encountered unforeseen hardship. Arakawa faced a rare condition linked to rodent exposure, while Hackman, already living with advanced Alzheimer's, suffered from complications related to heart disease. Though his physical strength waned, Hackman's legacy remains as powerful as ever. His performances were raw, deeply human, and often transformative, leaving audiences moved, challenged, and inspired. Whether playing a tough detective, a charming villain, or a flawed patriarch, he brought truth to every role. Gene Hackman's journey was one of passion, resilience, and quiet dignity. His impact on American cinema is profound, and his body of work continues to shine brightly. For those who admired him on screen and respected him in life, he remains not only a gifted actor, but a symbol of dedication and artistry that endures. Jill Sobule was never afraid to sing her truth. Born in Denver in 1959, she grew up chasing melody and meaning, and over the decades, she gave voice to those who didn't always see themselves in the mainstream. With her guitar in hand and a wry smile on her lips, Jill's music walked the line between humor and heartbreak, always honest, always hers. In 1995, Jill's playful yet powerful "I Kissed a Girl" introduced her to the world as a fearless voice for self-expression and identity. At a time when few dared, Jill told her story in full color, helping countless fans feel seen. Her track "Supermodel," immortalized in Clueless, cemented her place in pop culture, while her later songs continued to explore the messy, beautiful complexities of being human. Jill faced her share of challenges. Dropped by labels, she didn't stop. Instead, she turned to her fans, pioneering one of music's earliest crowdfunding models, and raised nearly $89,000 to keep creating. Her career may not have always followed the charts, but it followed her heart. She spoke out on everything from LGBTQ+ rights to body image and identity, always with wit and grace. This spring, Jill was preparing to perform her deeply personal one-woman show, FK 7th Grade, in her hometown. Instead, we gather to remember a life that lit the way for so many. Her journey ended unexpectedly in a house fire in Minnesota. She was 66. Through her lyrics, her laughter, and her legacy, Jill Sobule remains a beacon, a true original who sang not just for herself, but for everyone who ever felt different and longed to be heard. Greg Cannom was more than a makeup artist. He was a magician of transformation, a quiet visionary who reshaped the faces of Hollywood's greatest stories. From the tender aging of Brad Pitt in The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, to the astonishing likeness of Christian Bale as Dick Cheney in Vice, Greg's artistry blurred the line between actor and character, fantasy and reality. Over a career spanning decades, Greg won 4 Academy Awards and earned 6 additional nominations. His work on Bram Stoker's Dracula, Mrs. Doubtfire, and A Beautiful Mind brought unforgettable characters to life. But behind the scenes, Greg was known for his humility, generosity, and devotion to his craft. In 2019, he received the Makeup Artists and Hairstylists Guild's Lifetime Achievement Award, an honor reflecting a lifetime of storytelling through detail, nuance, and passion. Even as he faced personal health struggles in his later years, including complications from diabetes that required immense resilience, Greg never lost his creative spirit. Colleagues and friends recall his early collaborations with Rick Baker and the legendary Thriller music video, where Greg not only helped design the look, but even appeared in full makeup. His journey began with inspiration from The Exorcist and grew into a legacy that touched Titanic, Blade, Batman Returns, and The Mask, among so many others. Greg passed away at the age of 73, leaving behind a body of work that continues to mesmerize and a legacy that will guide future artists for generations. Greg Cannom may have worked in shadows and subtlety, but his brilliance lit up the screen. He helped us believe, imagine, and feel, and in every transformation, he left a piece of his soul. Dame Joan Plowright was a true force of the stage and screen, a luminous talent whose voice, presence, and humanity resonated across generations. Born in Lincolnshire in 1929, Joan dedicated her life to the craft of acting, shaping the landscape of British theatre and captivating audiences around the world. Over 7 decades, Joan brought fierce intelligence and emotional depth to her roles, from her Tony-winning performance in A Taste of Honey to her Oscar-nominated turn in Enchanted April. She moved seamlessly between stage and screen, breathing life into characters as varied as Shakespeare's Portia, Chekhov's Masha, and the wry Mrs. Fisher basking in the Italian sun. Though often introduced as the wife of the great Laurence Olivier, Joan Plowright stood firmly on her own artistic ground. Together they transformed the National Theatre into a cultural cornerstone, but Joan's voice remained distinct, sharp, witty, and full of heart. She was never afraid to challenge expectations, whether playing comedy in I Love You to Death or lending quiet strength in Tea with Mussolini. In her later years, Joan faced the quiet challenge of fading eyesight, ultimately retiring from the stage in 2014. Yet even in her blindness, she remained surrounded by laughter, stories, and the love of family and friends. She passed peacefully at Denville Hall on January 16, 2025, at the age of 95. Dame Joan Plowright left behind more than performances. She left wisdom, courage, and a profound belief in the power of storytelling. She lived, as she once said, with purpose beyond the stage door, and her legacy will continue to inspire those who carry the torch of theater and film. Peter Engel had a gift, not just for creating television that entertained, but for capturing the spirit of youth, laughter, and possibility. Over a career spanning more than 4 decades and 1,000 episodes, he left an enduring mark on pop culture, shaping the lives of countless viewers who grew up watching his work. Best known as the creative force behind Saved by the Bell, Peter introduced audiences to the vibrant world of Bayside High, where teen friendships, challenges, and dreams unfolded in colorful, unforgettable episodes. The series wasn't just a hit, it became a cultural touchstone. From the new class to its modern-day reboot, Peter's vision continued to evolve, while staying true to the heart of the original. Born in Manhattan in 1936, Peter began his journey in television as an NBC page before moving west to Los Angeles, where he forged a long-lasting partnership with NBC. He not only developed beloved teen shows like California Dreams, City Guys, and Hang Time, but also found success with the reality competition Last Comic Standing, earning an Emmy nomination in 2004. Beyond the cameras, Peter was known for his warmth and care, often acting as a mentor and father figure on set. He poured his heart into nurturing young talent, even building an on-set school to ensure his young cast could thrive both academically and artistically. Peter Engel passed peacefully at his home in Santa Monica on March 4, 2025, at the age of 88. He is survived by his children and grandchild and by the countless stories he brought to life. For generations, Peter's work gave us laughter, comfort, and belonging. His legacy isn't just in the shows we loved, it's in the memories they created. Tyka Nelson lived in the quiet glow of music, a light that both defined her and connected her to one of the most legendary figures in music history. As Prince's only full sibling, Tyka shared more than family. She shared a bond of artistry, of story, and of soul. Born in Minneapolis in 1960, Tyka followed her own path through melody and memory. Over the years, she released 4 studio albums that reflected a deeply personal voice, one that was shaped not by fame, but by truth. Though she often described herself humbly as a writer who could sing, her music told stories that were brave, spiritual, and full of life. Tyka's journey was not always in the spotlight. In recent years, she planned a farewell performance, stepping away from music with gratitude and grace. While illness kept her from that final stage, her presence still filled the room in spirit. In interviews, she reflected on love, loss, and the weight of carrying memory, particularly the memory of her brother, Prince. "I'm kind of the last link to him," she once said, a sentiment that moved many who found comfort in her words. Tyka Nelson passed away on November 4, 2024, at the age of 64. She leaves behind a family who loved her deeply, her children, her siblings, and countless fans who saw in her a connection not just to Prince, but to a legacy of resilience, faith, and creativity. In her final chapter, Tyka was writing a memoir, her way of honoring a life lived quietly, but meaningfully. Though the book remains unfinished, her story lives on in every note she sang, and in the enduring power of love between siblings who changed the sound of the world. Jiggly Caliente brought joy wherever she went, through laughter, love, and the art of living fully in her truth. Born Bianca Castro Arabejo, she became a star not just on stage, but in the hearts of those who found courage and connection in her story. She first graced the world stage on season 4 of RuPaul's Drag Race, dazzling fans with her spirit, warmth, and unforgettable moves. A fan favorite, Jiggly later returned to All Stars and took her place behind the judges' table on Drag Race Philippines, inspiring new generations of performers in her beloved community. With every appearance, she championed authenticity and self-worth, especially for those still learning to see their own light. In the drama series Pose, Jiggly stepped into the world of scripted television with grace and determination, forging paths for others as one of the first trans Filipinas on a major U.S. series. Her impact went far beyond performance. She was a beacon, an advocate, a trailblazer, and a fierce believer in representation that matters. In her final days, Jiggly faced a serious health crisis, undergoing surgery and amputation. She passed peacefully on April 27, 2025, at the age of 44, surrounded by love. Jiggly Caliente's legacy is not just in the shows she lit up, but in the lives she changed. Her story is one of courage, resilience, and radiant pride, an enduring reminder that being exactly who you are is the most powerful stage of all. Samuel French had a rare kind of presence, the kind that lit up the screen not with flash, but with quiet fire. A Texas native with a passion for storytelling, Samuel brought deep authenticity to every role he touched. Whether playing a humble cowboy or an undercover FBI agent, he carried the weight of character with grace and intensity. Audiences first discovered him on series like Texas Rising and Fear the Walking Dead, but it was Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon that gave Samuel his breakout. In the film, he portrayed C.J. Robinson, an undercover agent in the FBI's first major case. On his very first day, he held his own opposite Robert De Niro, a performance Scorsese praised as unmatched. Samuel never let illness define him. Even as he faced a private battle with cancer, he poured his soul into Towpath, his final film. Playing Detective Bernard Crook, he gave everything to the role. Unfiltered, fearless, and alive, said writer-director Paul Sinecor, words that speak to the man as much as the actor. He passed in his hometown of Waco, Texas, on May 9, 2025, at the age of 45. He is survived by his daughter, Madison, his partner, Melinda, and a close-knit family who knew his heart long before the world saw his talent. Samuel French left us too soon, but his legacy is just beginning. In each frame, he gave us honesty, heart, and hope. His journey reminds us that sometimes even the quietest stars burn the brightest. Paul Danan was a man of immense talent, unforgettable energy, and deep complexity. To many, he was Saul Patrick on Hollyoaks, a bold, charismatic character who made waves on British television in the late 90s. To others, he was a vibrant presence on Celebrity Love Island, Celebrity Big Brother, and countless other reality and comedy shows. But behind the fame was a human being who never stopped trying to better himself. who spoke openly about his struggles and who reached for connection through his art. Born in 1978, Paul found early success on screen, but also faced personal battles with addiction and mental health. He spoke of them not as shameful secrets, but as hard truths, stories he hoped could help someone else. Through podcasting, drama workshops, and his own recovery journey, he worked to build a space where creativity and healing could meet. Paul passed away at his home in Bristol on January 15, 2025, at the age of 46. A coroner later ruled his passing as a misadventure, resulting from the combined effects of prescription and illicit substances. There was no indication of intent, just the echo of a long and difficult journey. Those who knew him remember a man who was generous, witty, and brave, a friend who, in the words of Callum Best, faced life with heart and courage. Though his path was not always easy, Paul never stopped striving. His warmth, his humor, and his unmistakable presence will be missed by fans and friends alike. Paul Danan leaves behind more than roles and headlines. He leaves behind a legacy of vulnerability, of fight, and of someone who never gave up on being seen. Jeffrey Runnings, a cherished voice in America's indie music scene, was born in Omaha, Nebraska in 1963. From a young age, he found solace and meaning in sound, spending hours at the piano, collecting records, and eventually picking up a guitar, which he taught himself to play upside down. Music, for Jeffrey, wasn't just a passion, it was home. In 1984, he helped form For Against, a Nebraska-based band that would quietly leave a lasting mark on the world of dream pop and post-punk. As the group's bassist, vocalist, and guiding light, Jeffrey blended atmospheric soundscapes with raw emotion, creating music that felt both intimate and vast. Albums like Echelons and December became cult classics, admired for their lyrical honesty and distinctive sound. While his career never sought the limelight, his artistry reached deeply into the lives of listeners around the world. Jeffrey's letters, often handwritten, were filled with mixtapes and recommendations, showing how much he cared not only for music, but for the connections it sparked. Even as digital music took over, he mailed new albums on cassette, holding on to something personal and pure. In his final years, Jeffrey faced a difficult journey with courage and grace. He continued to write and record, completing a solo album, Peaked, before passing on March 3, 2025, at the age of 61, after a battle with stage 4 cancer. To those who knew him, and to those who simply knew his music, Jeffrey Runnings remains a singular voice, gentle, generous, and true. His legacy endures in every note, every lyric, and every heart he quietly moved. James Baker, the legendary Australian drummer who helped shape the country's garage rock and punk scenes, was truly born to rock. From his first drum kit at 16 to his final studio recordings in his 70s, James never lost the beat or the spirit that made him one of music's most beloved figures. Born in Perth in 1954, James took his early inspiration from the Beatles' Ringo Starr. That admiration evolved into a fearless, raw drumming style that became the heartbeat of bands like the Scientists, Hoodoo Gurus, Beasts of Bourbon, and the Victims. His sound, a mix of unfiltered energy and primal rhythm, helped define an entire era of Australian music and left a lasting mark on fans worldwide. James was more than a drummer, he was a cultural catalyst. In the late 1970s, he brought the look, sound, and rebellious energy of punk from New York and London back to Australia, where he became a driving force in the local scene. He co-founded bands that would go on to be celebrated as cornerstones of indie and alternative rock. His playing on Stone Age Romeos, the debut album by Hoodoo Gurus, is still hailed as iconic. Despite being diagnosed with liver cancer in 2014, James continued to perform, tour, and create music. He reunited with old bandmates, released his first solo EP in decades, and remained active on stage until his final year. His strength, passion, and undying love for music inspired everyone around him. James passed peacefully at home in Perth on May 5, 2025, at the age of 71. He is survived by his wife Kathy, daughters Lorna and Faye, sister Barbara, and a grandson who will soon carry forward his extraordinary legacy. James Baker's rhythm lives on, in records, in hearts, and in every rebellious beat that dares to follow his lead. Breaking news. Today we turn the spotlight on a woman whose voice once shook the walls of injustice, echoed through decades of resistance, and now speaks in whispers of truth and healing. Joan Baez is not merely a folk singer. She is a movement, a mirror, and a moral compass. Her journey, from a precocious teen with a guitar to a wise elder confronting the deepest corners of her own memory, is a story unlike any other. How did this woman remain so steadfast, so courageous, even as she unraveled from within? And what can we learn from her unmatched resilience and unwavering spirit? Born on January 9, 1941, in Staten Island, New York, Joan Chandos Baez came into the world as a storm quietly brewing. Raised in a Quaker household steeped in nonviolence and service, she quickly absorbed the values that would later define her life. Her father, a prominent physicist of Mexican and Scottish descent, moved the family across the country and abroad, giving Joan a global perspective from a young age. But her most profound gift, the one that would define her future, was her ethereal soprano voice. As a teenager, that voice became her lifeline and her sword. She first captured national attention at the 1959 Newport Folk Festival. Dressed simply with long, dark hair and a haunting voice, Joan Baez did not need embellishments to captivate. Her debut album, released in 1960, soared, introducing traditional folk ballads and protest songs to a wider American audience. While rock and roll dominated the airwaves, Baez stayed loyal to acoustic guitar and lyrical purity, helping spark the folk revival movement of the 1960s. Soon after, she became the moral soundtrack to the decade's unrest. She marched alongside Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., performed at civil rights rallies, and was arrested for protesting the Vietnam War. She stood not on the stage for glory, but on the front lines of change. Her music became a bridge between the political and the personal, between rage and redemption. And then came Bob Dylan. Baez famously introduced Dylan to audiences in the early 1960s, and the two formed a powerful, if ultimately complicated, artistic and romantic relationship. Their bond would shape a generation of music and activism, even as it unraveled privately. Her 1975 song, Diamonds and Rust, a bittersweet reflection on their relationship, remains one of her most emotionally potent recordings. But while Joan's voice carried messages of hope and solidarity, her private life was far more fractured. For decades, she lived with unspoken fears, sudden anxieties, and emotional wounds that had no clear origin. She soldiered on, performing, protesting, inspiring, all while navigating a labyrinth within her own psyche. In public, she was composed, eloquent, radiant. In private, she was often deeply unsettled, haunted by nightmares and inexplicable dread. It was not until much later in life, well into her 70s, that Joan Baez fully began to uncover the truth beneath her pain. In the deeply revealing 2023 documentary, Joan Baez, I Am a Noise, she laid bare a lifetime of unprocessed trauma. Therapy and journaling eventually led her to recall long-buried memories of childhood abuse, which had fractured her emotional foundation. She was later diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder, a complex condition often linked to early life trauma. Through years of counseling and introspection, Joan began to piece together the puzzle of her own mind. Panic attacks that had once struck without warning now had a name. Emotional detachment that confused her for years now made sense. She was not unraveling. She was finally understanding. This candid confrontation with her past was not easy. But Baez, ever the truth-teller, chose not to hide it. Instead, she shared her story with the world. Not for pity, not for attention, but because she knew, as always, that her voice could help others. Her honesty about mental health, trauma, and recovery has given countless people permission to seek healing. Even as she navigated the terrain of memory and meaning, Joan Baez remained active as an artist. She continued to release music, sometimes in collaboration, often as quiet statements of enduring wisdom. Her 2018 farewell tour, Fare Thee Well, was a graceful closing of a chapter, not a silencing of her soul. The tour was a celebration, a tribute, and a thank you to those who had walked with her across the decades. Physically, she has embraced aging without resistance. She has rejected cosmetic procedures, opting instead to allow her body to reflect the years she has lived. In interviews, she often jokes about losing her upper vocal range but finds joy in singing from a deeper register. Her silver hair, once jet black, is worn proudly. She meditates daily, paints in her studio, and writes poetry that blends vulnerability with strength. These days, Joan Baez lives in Northern California, in a peaceful home surrounded by nature. Her time is spent painting luminous, surreal portraits, walking barefoot in her garden, and occasionally lending her voice to causes she believes in. Though she has stepped away from the stage, her spirit still reverberates through the movements she helped build. Her Impressions series of art and recent poetry collections explore the mind-body-spirit connection with remarkable emotional depth. Despite her withdrawal from public life, Baez has remained vocal in key moments. She has spoken on the urgency of climate justice, the complexities of global conflict, and the need for unity in divided times. Her reflections are not loud, but they are deep. With fewer public appearances, her words now carry the weight of someone who has earned the right to speak only when she feels compelled to do so. Perhaps what is most powerful about Joan Baez today is not her music, but her evolution. From a fearless young activist to a wise elder embracing every wrinkle and scar, she has allowed herself to change. She has let go of the need to be perfect. She has traded performance for presence, and in doing so, she has become even more timeless. Joan Baez is not just a symbol of resistance. She is the embodiment of what it means to survive with grace. Her legacy is not just her voice, but her ability to turn silence into sound, pain into purpose, and memory into meaning. At 83 years old, she remains a radiant example of how healing and art can coexist, and how courage sometimes means standing in the spotlight, and other times walking away from it. What are your memories of Joan Baez? Has her music or story impacted your life? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let us reflect together on the life of a woman who turned truth into music and music into change. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe and join us as we continue to celebrate the lives of those who remind us that even the softest voices can shake the world.